Okay, Proverbs 29:15. Look what it says. It says, fear of man will prove to be a snare. It's a different word in there. But whoever trusts the Lord will be kept safe. Now, the Hebrew word for snare carries the meaning of a hoop or a ring that would be placed in the nose of an animal so that it could be hooked and used to lead them from one place to another. So here's what that means. Living for the approval of others, being a people pleaser is like having a ring in your nose, right? And what other people think about you is like a hook that leads you around in all different directions that you don't really want to go. It means when people criticize you, that's a hook that places an it's emotional and physical, right? And it's terrible for you, and it can drag you in places that are opposite of what God has for you. It means that when people ask something of you and you can't say no, it's a hook in your nose. It drags you off to things that lead you to frustration and anger and exhaustion and bitterness and resentment. Guys, but here's the good news. Whoever trusts in the Lord will become safe. If you are saying, I think that's me, I might be a people pleaser, I want you to know that those of us that put our trust in the Lord will be kept safe. Now, if you struggle with these issues, here's the truth you need to grasp today, and it's your next major fill-in on your card. Becoming obsessed with what people think about you is the fastest way to forget what God thinks about you. When we become obsessed with what other people think about us, it's the quickest way, the fastest way to forget what God thinks. The truth is, if we are obsessed about what other people think, eventually it will become impossible for you to know what God thinks about you and remember what he thinks. And here's why it's so important. Because whoever we're aiming to please, that's the direction that our lives are going to take. This is why we have to be aware that if we're people-pleasing, then that's how our life is going to go. No matter what intentions we have. We can say, well, I want to serve God with my whole heart. I want to do this and I want to do that, and I don't want to go here and there. But if you're stuck in people-pleasing, eventually that is the way that your life is going to go. So if you're obsessed with other people's think, all of your decisions are going to eventually lead you directly onto that hamster wheel. You're going to be chasing carrots. You're going to be constantly worrying about what other people think. But when we become obsessed with what God thinks about us, life begins to be filled with purpose and vision and peace and fulfillment because we're actually worrying about what God cares about. The Apostle Paul understood this when he wrote the letter to the Galatian church in chapter 1, verse 10. Look what he says. He says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. Now, Paul used the word obviously because everybody knew he was persecuted, he was beaten, he was arrested, he was held in chains simply for preaching the good news. He was saying, look, it's obvious that if I was looking for the approval of all these people, I wouldn't be in those spots, right? I wouldn't be going through the things that I'm going through. But he says, but if pleasing people were my goal, I actually would not be Christ's servant. Here's the truth. Whoever you're aiming to please, that's who you're serving. It's a hard truth, but the people that you're aiming to please, that's who you're serving. If you live for the approval of your friends, eventually you're a servant of your friends, what they think and where they want to go and what they want to do, right? You're led around by that ring in your nose. If you're obsessed with the approval of your parents, listen, it's good for your parents to be pleased with you, but I've met people that are well into adulthood that they avoid major decisions in their life because their parents are going to be mad about it or not understand it. And guys, you need to remember that's who you're serving. If you're obsessed with not saying no to anyone because you're a people pleaser, you will be a servant of everyone else, and you will never take care of yourself. But when you become obsessed with the approval of God, you ultimately become first and foremost a servant of God. That's how you do it. You become obsessed with what does God think about my life. Now, we love this.